Have you ever noticed how quietly it happens? One year a man is full of life, laughing with friends, walking tall, making plans, and then not long after he's slowing down, he's tired more often, less present, and somehow smaller. Not in size, but in spirit. As a doctor who spent over 30 years working with men in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, I've watched this pattern unfold more times than I can count. And every time the questions echo the same. Doc, I eat right. I walk every day. I take my pills. So why do I still feel like I'm fading? For years I thought I had the answers. Blood pressure, testosterone, cholesterol, the usual suspects. But over time, something kept bothering me. Because even when the numbers looked good, some of these men still lost their fire. Not from disease, not from injury, but from something far more silent and more devastating. That's when I began to look beyond the test results, beyond the prescriptions and meal plans. And what I found was something no lab could measure. It was a pattern hidden in plain sight. I remember one man in particular, let's call him Richard. He was 68, trim, sharp, disciplined. His lab results were perfect. But when I asked how he felt, he just stared out the window and said, "I don't know," like I'm watching my life instead of living it. That moment changed me, because I realized something vital was missing from the conversation around aging. And it wasn't diet or sleep or exercise. It was something far more human, far more personal. Today, I want to share with you what I've come to believe is one of the most overlooked yet powerful aspects of aging well. And here's the truth. The body never truly forgets how to feel alive, but it needs help remembering. In the chapters ahead, I'll share the insights I've gathered from decades of experience, not just in medicine, but in listening. This isn't about reversing time. It's about reclaiming what time has quietly tucked away. Let's begin. I remember sitting across from another patient, a retired teacher, 74 years old. He was polite, well-groomed, a man of discipline and grace. But there was something in his voice, like the wind had gone out of his sails. "Doctor," he said, "I'm doing everything right, but it's like I don't recognize myself anymore." Because what he was feeling, what so many men over 60 feel, isn't captured in charts or scans. It's a disconnection. Not from others, but from themselves. Over the years, I've seen this silent epidemic unfold again and again. Strong men, proud men, slowly losing touch with the very thing that made them feel alive. It doesn't happen overnight. It's subtle. A slower step here. A little more hesitation there. A feeling of numbness. Not physical, but emotional. And most never talk about it. Not to their doctors, not even to their partners. Because somewhere along the way, we were all fed the same myth. That intimacy, sensuality, even desire, belong only to the young. But that myth is a lie. And it's a dangerous one. Because when a man disconnects from the experience of pleasure, when he stops reaching for it, even in the simplest ways, his health begins to shift. Sleep becomes restless. Focus fades. Mood dips. Muscles weaken. Even the immune system starts to falter. I've seen it in men who once danced with life, and then quietly stopped moving. And I want you to hear this, clearly and without shame. Your body still remembers. The pathways are still there. Maybe quiet, maybe dormant, but not gone. And when you begin to reconnect, to explore gently, with kindness and curiosity, something begins to change. You start to feel you again, because it hasn't. It's waiting. Somewhere in my third decade of practice, I noticed something odd. I had two patients, both in their early 70s. Similar medical histories, similar lifestyles, but one seemed sharper, livelier. His eyes had a glint of humor. His voice carried energy. He recovered faster from illness, laughed more easily. The other drifted. He moved slower, slept poorly, worried more. Same medications, same diet, same walking schedule. What was different, I asked gently, and what came back stunned me. The first man, he still allowed himself to feel, to touch, to seek pleasure in simple physical ways. Whether through partnered intimacy or solo connection, he hadn't let that part of himself die. And science now confirms what I had only seen with my own eyes for years. Physical pleasure, especially after 60, isn't indulgent. It's protective. Let's talk biology. Blood flow increases, not just in the obvious places, but across your entire system. Brain, heart, extremities, everything gets nourished. Blood carries oxygen, and oxygen heals. Your body releases endorphins, those feel-good chemicals that ease pain and lighten mood. They calm the nervous system, help with sleep, and even lower blood pressure. Neuroscience tells us that physical pleasure stimulates multiple areas of the brain at once: memory centers, emotional regulation systems, and executive function hubs. This is like a full-body workout for your mind. It keeps the brain alive, adaptable, youthful. I've seen patients light up again, quite literally, when they allow themselves to reconnect with pleasure. Their posture shifts, their laughter returns, their memory sharpens. Even their relationships, platonic and romantic, begin to warm and deepen. There is no expiration date on your right to feel. You don't need permission. You need reconnection. This is your life force, your aliveness. It lives in your skin, your breath, your senses. Ignore it and you begin to fade. Nurture it and you begin to thrive. If I could gather all the men I've treated over the years, line them up in one room and listen to what held them back, it wouldn't be disease or disability. It would be the stories they believed. Not stories told with malice, no. These were whispers, handed down over time, quiet myths that seeped into the bones, and like poison taken slowly, they robbed strength without a fight. The first myth? After a certain age, pleasure no longer matters. I've heard it spoken softly, like a confession. Doc, I'm too old for that. But you are never too old to feel alive. Pleasure, real, physical, sensory pleasure, isn't something you age out of. It's something you grow into, differently, yes, gently, but no less meaningfully. The second myth, it's shameful to take care of yourself in that way. This one hurts the most. So many grew up in a world where self-touch was whispered about, laughed at, or shamed. Caring for your own body is not shameful. It is the most personal form of self-respect. You wouldn't hesitate to brush your teeth, eat a healthy meal, or take a deep breath when you needed it. The third myth, if I conserve my sexual energy, I'll preserve my physical strength. This idea has roots in old misunderstandings, spiritual, cultural, sometimes even athletic. But biology tells a different story. When you regularly engage in sexual expression, your hormones balance. Circulation improves, muscles and nerves stay active. It's not a depletion, it's an investment, like keeping a river flowing so it doesn't dry up. And perhaps the most dangerous myth of all, sexual health is separate from overall health. In truth, they are deeply connected, intertwined in ways that modern science is only beginning to fully map. I've seen men heal in ways they never expected: lower blood pressure, better sleep, clearer thoughts. Not because they added a pill, but because they reclaimed a part of themselves that had gone silent for too long. So if you recognize even one of these myths inside you, I want you to know, you are not alone, and you are not broken. You've simply been taught to forget something essential. But forgetting is not the end. Remembering is still possible. And in the next part, I'll share with you a gentle, step-by-step method that has helped countless seniors I've worked with rediscover connection. It's called the restoration method. And it's not about perfection, it's about possibility. When I first began walking this path with my older patients, I realized something quickly. Most didn't need more motivation. They needed a map. Not vague advice, not hollow encouragement, but a process, a path they could follow, gently, reassuringly, one step at a time. That's how the restoration method was born. It's not a treatment, it's not a technique, it's a way of coming home to your body, respectfully, tenderly, and most of all, patiently. Let me walk you through it, just like I've walked so many others. Step 1, preparation. This is more important than most people realize. It's not about what you do, it's how you do it. Set a space where you feel safe, private, unrushed. A comfortable chair, a bed, a temperature that feels just right, maybe even soft lighting. And yes, a quality lubricant, because comfort matters more now than ever. These aren't indulgences, they're signals. Signals to your nervous system that say, I am safe, I am allowed to care for myself, I matter. Step 2. Relaxation. Before touch, there must be breath. Place a hand on your chest, the other on your belly. Breathe in slowly through your nose. Hold. Exhale through your mouth. Do this 5 times. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the weight of the day begin to fall away. This isn't a performance. It's a returning. Step 3. Awakening. This step is often skipped, but it's sacred. Touch your own body, not with urgency, but with curiosity. Explore areas like your chest, thighs, lower belly, even your neck, noticing what sensations arise. For some, there's a tingling. For others, maybe just warmth. For some, maybe numbness at first. That's okay. This is not about results. It's about presence. Step 4. Focused stimulation. When you're ready, bring touch to more sensitive areas. Slowly, gently. Avoid speed. Avoid pressure. Let sensation rise and fall like a tide. Don't chase a climax. Let arousal be a conversation, not a race. Some moments will feel electric. Some might feel quiet. That's part of it. You're not recreating your youth. You're discovering what today can still offer. Step 5. Integration. When you feel complete, however that looks for you, pause, breathe again, and thank yourself, not just for what you did, but for why you did it. Because every moment you choose to reconnect with your own body is a moment you affirm your right to vitality, to pleasure, to self-worth, to life. This method is not a miracle, but it is a medicine, one that doesn't come in a bottle. It comes from your own hands, your own breath, your own choice to believe that healing is still possible, and it is. Next, I want to show you how to stay on this path, because even when we begin with hope, it's easy to drift. In the next part, we'll talk about common obstacles and how to move past them, so you can stay connected to your strength, your desire, and your purpose. Even with a clear path, even with hope newly lit in the heart, most people stumble, and that's okay. Real change is never a straight line. It bends, it pauses, it tests our patience. But those who expect the bumps walk farther. Let me show you the 5 most common obstacles I've seen, and how to move through them with grace. Obstacle 1. Unrealistic expectations. This is the big one. So many seniors I speak with begin this journey hoping to feel like they did at 25, and when they don't, they think they've failed. But they haven't failed. They've just forgotten something. Your body now is different, wiser, slower maybe, but still capable. The goal isn't fireworks, it's presence. It's reconnecting with sensation, with warmth, with aliveness, in whatever form it comes. Even a flicker means something is awakening. Obstacle 2. Inconsistency. Reconnection takes practice. Just like learning to play an instrument again. If you only sit at the piano once a month, the music stays out of reach. But 2 or 3 times a week, even gently, builds momentum. Set time aside, not as an obligation, but as a gift to yourself. Your body doesn't need perfection. It needs your presence. Obstacle 3. Performance pressure. This one sneaks in quietly. We begin with curiosity, and before we know it, we're judging ourselves. Was that enough? Did I do it right? Why didn't I feel more? That inner critic, it's an old ghost, let it go. There is no right outcome, no required finish line. If you felt warmth, stillness, pleasure, peace, even for a moment, you've succeeded. Obstacle 4. Shame. Shame. The quiet thief. For decades, many of us were taught that pleasure, especially solo pleasure, is wrong, dirty, or childish. So even when we know better, the old voice still whispers, I shouldn't need this. This isn't appropriate. Maybe I'm broken. Let me tell you something I've told hundreds of patients. You are not broken. Your body is still worthy. Your desire is still human. And your care for yourself is not just allowed, it's necessary. Obstacle 5. Loneliness. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the method, it's the silence around it. No one talks about these things. You may feel like you're the only one thinking this way, wanting this connection, hoping for this spark. But you are not alone. Thousands, millions of men and women are quietly longing for the same thing, to feel alive again, to feel whole again. When you choose this path, you give silent permission to others. You show them it's not too late. That hope doesn't expire. That vitality doesn't vanish. That life still pulses within us. So keep going, step by step, breath by breath. In the next part, I'll take you into something even deeper. Not just how to reclaim pleasure, but how to use this reconnection to transform your entire health from the inside out. Because once this spark returns, everything else begins to shift. There's a moment, often subtle, when something begins to shift. It might be after a quiet evening, or a small sensation rediscovered, or a single breath that feels different, fuller, more you. And then, like ripples spreading from the center of a still pond, that moment begins to affect everything. Because when we reconnect with the body, especially after years of silence, it doesn't just change how we feel for a moment. It begins to restore us. First, the physical body responds. I've seen patients who once struggled with chronic stiffness suddenly start moving more fluidly. Why? Because arousal, even gentle, non-sexual arousal, increases blood flow, delivers oxygen to deep tissues, and lubricates joints. It signals the body that life is still happening here, and the body listens. Testosterone rises modestly, heart rate variability improves, immune markers shift. This is not magic, it's biology awakened. Second, sleep begins to deepen. Pleasure, especially solo pleasure, often triggers the release of prolactin, oxytocin, and endorphins. These aren't just feel-good chemicals, they are restorative agents. They calm the nervous system, quiet the mind, and allow the kind of deep, healing sleep that supports memory, tissue repair, and emotional resilience. Third, energy returns. One of my patients, a 72-year-old widower, once told me, "It's like I was walking through life half-charged, then suddenly, I plugged back in." It wasn't about performance. It wasn't even about climax. It was about remembrance. That his body still mattered, that he still had access to joy. And with that, his mornings changed. His appetite returned. He laughed more. Fourth, the emotional self heals. This one is harder to measure, but it may be the most powerful. Shame, grief, and isolation often settle into the body in ways we don't see. Tight shoulders, shallow breathing, heavy steps. But when we reconnect with touch, with sensation, with presence, those emotions begin to shift. I've watched men cry, not from sadness, but from relief, as if some part of them had waited quietly for decades to be acknowledged again. Fifth, relationships deepen. Even if you walk this journey alone, you don't stay alone. When you begin treating your body with care and curiosity again, you move differently, you speak differently, you listen differently, and others feel that. Partners notice, friends notice, even strangers do. Not because of what you say, but because of what you carry. A presence, a stillness, a quiet confidence, and sometimes that opens doors you thought were long closed. Finally, life becomes lighter. Aging doesn't stop. Time doesn't slow down, but it begins to feel less like a decline and more like a return to yourself, to your breath, to your worth. And that shift is the real healing. You don't have to become someone new, you just have to remember who you've always been. In the final part, we'll bring it all together. I'll walk you through the one choice that has changed everything for hundreds of my patients, and why it's never ever too late to begin. Remember, this video is for informational and educational purposes only. The experiences, reflections, and insights shared are drawn from decades of clinical observation and are intended to encourage open dialogue around healthy aging. The content should not be interpreted as medical advice or a substitute for consultation with a licensed healthcare provider. Every individual's body and circumstances are unique. Always speak with your doctor before making changes to your lifestyle, health practices, or personal wellness routines. The stories and examples presented are illustrative and do not reference specific patients. I want to leave you with this, a truth that has echoed through every exam room, every bedside conversation, every whispered confession I've heard over these last 30 years. You are not done, not because you've avoided illness, not because you've kept a strict diet or a steady pulse, but because something inside you, something essential, is still waiting, still alive, still capable of joy, intimacy, and connection. You see, the world has told us for too long that aging is about surrender, that with each passing year we lose strength, memory, relevance, desire. But I've come to believe something else. Aging, real aging, is not about fading, it's about refining. What we lose in speed, we gain in presence. What we lose in sharpness, we gain in wisdom. And what we thought was gone forever, the body's capacity for pleasure, for sensation, for aliveness, often hasn't vanished at all. It's simply waiting for permission, for curiosity, for you. And that's what this entire journey has been about. Not advice, not prescriptions, but a reminder that your body is still yours, that your spirit still deserves attention, that this chapter, this precious season of life, is not the closing of a book, but the unfolding of one more vibrant story. I've watched men and women in their 70s, 80s, even 90s rediscover what they thought was lost, not by chasing youth, but by choosing presence, by choosing to touch their bodies and their lives with care again. If you've come this far with me, I hope something stirred in you. Maybe a memory, maybe a longing, maybe just a spark. Let it grow. You don't need to do everything at once. You don't need to fix yourself. You only need to begin. A single breath, a single moment of kindness, a single step toward your own body. That's how we begin to reclaim the right to feel, to connect, to live fully at any age. Thank you for walking this path with me. And wherever you are in your journey, I hope you'll carry this truth. You are still worthy. You are still beautiful. You are still very much alive.